evening.
Good evening.
We're going to do a little short centering thought or so to kind of let us get in from the day. And it's going to be very simple, and I'll chant it for you a minute and just give you a chance to I want to ask you to just breathe. Just relax and breathe. What I know may not be all there is to know. What I know may not be all there is to know. What I know may not be all there is to know. What I know may not be all there is to know. What I know may not be all there is to know. What I know may not be all there is to know. What I know may not be all there is to know. What you know may not be all there is to know. You don't have to believe anything that you hear tonight. You don't have to accept it, welcome it. Some of the things you hear you may find hard to believe. Some of it might be startling, and some of it you just might not even get or understand at all. It doesn't matter. If you use the ideas, you will see that the ideas are true. If you use the ideas, we're doing the course of love. But there's one thought that I'd like to share. Nothing that you experience is caused by anything outside of you. You experience only the effects of your own choice. Nothing that you experience is caused by anything outside of you. Nothing that you experience is caused by anything outside of you. Nothing that you experience is caused by anything outside of you. Nothing that you experience is caused by anything outside of you. Your experience is only the effects of your own choice. Your experience is only the effects of your own choice. Nothing that you experience is caused by anything outside of you. Nothing. So if there's something in your experience right now that you would like to see completed, ended, a pattern that you like to see ended, even if you don't believe this, you can say it to yourself silently or you can say it aloud. But get the situation in your mind, whatever it is. Probably was something you were obsessing about before you got here, right before you walked in the door, in case your mind is telling you now you can't think of anything. That's a bald-faced lie. We all got something. And what you want to do, you want to say, I have done all this. I have done all this. I must undo it. I must undo it. But I have no idea how I did this. But I have no idea how I did this. Therefore, I must surrender to something else. I must surrender to something else. I have done all this. I have done all this. I must undo it. I must undo it. But I have no idea how I did this. But I have no idea how I did this. Therefore, I must surrender to something else. I must surrender to something else. Would you unplug that from that heater? Thank you. Okay, we're going to be in the course of love. You got the book on page 193. If you don't remember anything else or don't hear anything else the rest of the night, that was the main point of every class forever from now on. It's for us to get that one axiom of truth, which is There's nothing that's causing your experience is being caused by anything outside of your own mind. I'm sorry, and I'm happy. There's nothing that I'm going through right now that's being caused by anything outside of me. Nothing that I'm experiencing right now is being caused by anything outside of me. And everything that I'm experiencing is the result of my choice. Everything, all of it. Do I need to believe it? Do I need to necessarily like it? No. Do I have to feel happy all the time about that? No. Do I need to understand that truth? No. It's just the truth. And it's the truth that everyone's going to recognize at some point on the spiritual path. One of these days it's going to hit you that you're free because there's nothing that's happening to you that's being caused by anything outside of your own mind, outside of your own consciousness. It's going to be a grand and glorious day. It's going to be beyond anything you can imagine. You could be in the supermarket and it's going to hit you that nobody's doing anything to you, and they never did. And at that time, you're going to drop every mental, emotional, psychic shackle that you have on yourself, and then you're going to let yourself have the relationships that you say you want. You're going to let yourself have the prosperity you say you want. You're going to let yourself have the joy that you say you want. You're going to let yourself have the awakening that you say you want. You're going to let yourself have the career, the creativity, the fun, everything that all of us think we want from the inside. Soon as you truly accept that nothing is happening except what your own mind is attracting to you, then that's when you're going to be free. It has nothing to do with your age, your sex, your weight, that you live in Denver, that you had so much education or non-education, that something was wrong with your parents. It has nothing to do with being a woman, being a man, being black, being white. None of that. All that's got to go. True happiness comes when all of those excuses for whatever's going on goes. And so I'm saying that so I can remember that, so I can get to that day even faster, that I do it and accept that, because I don't hear that a lot in regular, everyday life. So this is precious to me. This time that we spend together is more precious to me than you could possibly imagine. Because for 1 hour, I get a chance to tell myself something real and to hear something real. Anybody else feel that? Yeah. Yes. You know what I'm saying? It's like I get a chance to hear something other than somebody else is the reason why this is happening. Some economic condition is the reason why this is happening. Somebody did me wrong, so you know, I'm tired of my somebody did me wrong. Nobody did anything to me. Nobody's done anything to me. Everything that I'm experiencing right now is being sourced from me, because some part of me wants to experience something other than love, and that's why I'm experiencing something else. I wonder where the something else came from. Where the something else came from, the something else thoughts I have. This is my year that I call living the course. That was the theme of the conference I did in London in October. It was living the course. And I realized that was their spirit setting up the theme for the whole next year for me. Living it isn't studying it, reading it, discussing it, and analyzing it is not living it. That's what I have to remember. So I'm going to move a little bit faster tonight so we can see how much juice we can cover. All right? I'm going to start on paragraph 21-7 on page 193. Is there anybody here that likes the idea that they may be the creator of their experience? Is that okay? Okay. I know that there's some things about your experience you might not be very much willing. In fact, for instance, if you're baking a cake and the cake turns out well, you go, man, I really baked a really cool cake today. If the cake doesn't turn out, I go, well, it must have been the flour. I didn't have the stove on long enough. It must have been, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to own this thing that didn't work in my perception. But once you wake up, what you'll recognize is that even the so-called bad stuff was just another creation of yours. It was just something else you created as part of your school. You know, this is school. As soon as you wake up in the morning, you don't have to, go to school. When you wake up here, you're in school. So every time you wake up in the morning, it's just like you got to school faster than you could ever imagine. You in school in your pajamas, or no pajamas, however you happen to sleep. You wake up in school. This is Earth's school. None of us are from here. We're all out of state. And usually out of a totally peaceful state. And so we're trying to get there. This is college, and one of the coolest things that you're going to discover is that you're on scholarship. And all you have to do to be taken care of, because they take care of your room, your board, your food, and all you have to do is keep your grades up, right? That's the way this works. That's exactly the way this works. As long as you are making your own awakening and your own healing and your own joy and peace your number one priority, and you're doing everything possible to be a channel and a conduit for that to come into this world, you will be provided for in ways that you could never even imagine. You're on scholarship, but are you keeping your grades up? Well, you can tell whether or not you're keeping your grades up by how much you're struggling for food, clothing, shelter, and how much that predominates your consciousness about whether or not things are going to be all right. How much are you worrying all day about how much you're going to be taken care of is in direct proportion to how much you are getting the lesson that you were created by God and you were loved by something greater than yourself. This is not another class about how can you figure out another way to take care of yourself on your own. This is not what this class is about. It's about surrendering to something greater than you, that knows better than you what would be the most peaceful, loving experience you could possibly have here. This is about opening our hearts and joining our mind. This is not another class about how can I figure it out better because you've given me more tools for me to go out and make it happen. This is for people who are tired of that, who really want to be here to have God expressed through them, that love expressed. She is waiting for you to open yourself up to her. Right? And so it says when you have conflict between mind and heart, it occurs for an additional reason as well. Although this conflict has at its root the problem of language as determined by perception, this is a problem of meaning. Mind and heart interpret meaning in different ways. What means something to your heart means something different to your mind. You do not even begin to understand the enormity of this conflict. What conflict? The conflict between the meanings that your mind gives things and the meaning that your heart gives things. He says, but I assure you that as long as mind and heart interpret meaning in different ways, you will not find peace. As long as your mind interprets one way and your heart interprets another way. My mind says I should do this. My heart really isn't in it. My heart is really in this, but my mind can't figure out that I even should follow this. My heart says, leave. My mind says, but how am I going to make it? Anybody familiar with that? Mm-hmm. Then you said, and he said, then you have in the past accepted these different interpretations as natural. You see that there are two ways of viewing a situation, even if you do not label one way of viewing or perceiving being of the mind and the other of the heart. And you accept the conflict. You accept the conflict of this dualism. That means you accept that your mind sees one truth and your heart another truth, and you act anyway. You act without agreement and you act without resolution. You act without unity. And just as if you were two people acting on different truths in the same situation, conflict can't help but continue. No matter what path you follow, the path of the mind or the path of the heart, you will not get where you are wanting to go until your mind and your heart are joined. You won't get where you're trying to go until your mind and your heart are joined. You might imagine the three paths actually. One path representing the mind, one path representing the heart, and one path representing your mind and your heart connected. So people are either following the path of their thoughts, or they're following the path of their feelings, or they're following the path of their feelings and their mind being joined, their heart and their mind being joined. The path of neither mind nor heart alone will take you where the path of unity will take you, and the journey will not be the same. So what's a simple way of saying that? If I'm in conflict, my mind and my heart are not joined. And so a person on that path of following their mind in one direction, their heart in one direction, never finds peace. Peace doesn't happen until my heart wants it and my mind wants it too. So instead of really so much me focusing on the thing I think I want, it would be better for me to resolve any conflict I have about having it. Let me give you an example. If you say you want to manifest something, and it seems like it doesn't show up, it's because you got a contrary thought to that. I want to have this, but I don't think I deserve it. I want to have this, but nobody like that is out there for me. I want to have this, but I'm too old. I want to have this, but I don't look good enough. As soon as you give the contrary thought, it opposes it. And true instantaneous manifestation comes from your mind and your heart being in agreement and through wholeheartedness. So, does it do any good, really, to ask for something you're in conflict about?
No.
No. It's better to what? Get your mind and your heart united on having it. Would be more important than trying to figure out how to have it.
Do you know there's conflict? If you're going to say, if it doesn't show up, then there is conflict.
Well, you know that there's conflict by that, and you know there's conflict by the way you feel.
If you're not peaceful.
If you're not like 100% peaceful about it, and if you really don't feel inspired by it, then it's probably not something that your mind and your heart are into. Have you ever thought about how much we want and that we seek after, that we were programmed to seek after and want? Does that ever cross anybody's mind that we've been programmed, and that we've been programmed from the day that we were born to that happiness is this? Mm-hmm. There are people walking around who feel very self-conscious because they're not married. Mm-hmm. Because they have been programmed to think unless you're married, something is, unless you are a mother or a father, something is wrong with you. If you don't own your own home by the time you're 40, something is up with you. Do you know how many things you make yourself feel guilty about just because you were taught to want those things and to judge yourself by those things? And how can you tell that's true? Because most people are not excited about those things. They're not really 100% excited about what they're doing every day and where they live every day and who they're with every day or whatever, because they're doing what they think they ought to do instead of following their heart and their minds. And then people say, well, what is following my heart and following my mind? My heart is in it, and my thoughts are helping me. My mind is helping me concentrate on the thoughts that will allow me to move in that direction. The Course in Miracles teaches that the purpose of words is just to facilitate concentration or the exclusion of thoughts to the contrary. So when I use my mind to say I want to focus on my innocence, I'm using my mind to focus on the thoughts that I want to manifest, but by saying I want to focus on my innocence, I'm also clearing out thoughts to the contrary. So my mind is just really facilitating my concentration on what I want. But it takes my heart being into it for me to move, for me to have some kind of energy about doing it. You ask people what do they want, and they'll say, I want a relationship, or I want money, or whatever. You don't feel any juice behind that at all. And then, so their heart really isn't in it. And then they're wondering why it's not happening. Or if right now there's some situation and all you're feeling is fear and conflict. You might want to resolve that conflict before you go further, because it's your consciousness that's going to create that experience. And if your consciousness is already nothing but fear and conflict, you already know what you're going to create before you even get there, before you even do it. It's going to be a reflection of where you're coming from now. Right? Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So it's more important to get your mind and your heart joined on the same idea and to figure out how you're going to physically manifest it in the world. Nothing can stop it from physically manifesting in the world if you have no contrary thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs about it happening. I deserve to be happy, period. I deserve loving relationships, period. Not I deserve loving relationships, but they never happen for me. See, that's the contrary thought. It neutralizes the whole thing and it slows it down. And then you got to go out and work for it.
I deserve to go to the gym.
You will go when you really believe that you deserve to have peace and happiness. It won't even be a matter of trying to discipline yourself. I don't know about you all, but I am not good at discipline.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm not good at the whole thing of discipline. So I solved that problem for myself many years ago by directing my life toward things I want to do. Because I found out if it was something I wanted to do, I would do it. So I started to create a reality where I'm doing what I want to do as much as possible. End of discipline problem. Nobody has to make me get up and come to a class that I love to teach. No one has to make me go walk in the park when I need to exercise and walk in the park, and I enjoy walking in the park. You know, and so you start to cut down on the shouldas, gotta, oughtas, shoulda, gotta, oughta, shoulda, gotta, oughta. So if you're doing all those things, you're in a miserable situation. You're doing shouldas and gottas and oughtas and all that stuff. Don't beat yourself up, because that's just a creation. It's just a creation you made on the way to learning how to make creations. No big deal. You did that, now we're going to do something else. You've had that experience now. Okay, I've had the experience of having relationships that seem like they're challenged. Wow, I did that really, really good. What would it be like to have one that's even better than anything I've ever imagined? That's when you start talking, when you start to wake up to the stuff that we're reading. Okay, so I did that. Made me feel guilty. What's the only afterward message? Don't do that again. Oh, okay. Just don't do that again. No, don't do that again. That's the only, you're not bad, you're not sinful, you're not guilty. Just don't do that again. And if you do decide to keep doing the thing over and over again that makes you miserable, know that those around you who are awake and conscious are not lamenting what you're going through, and they're not feeling sorry for you at all, because you're the one that's choosing to do it over and over again. And out of respect for your power and your creativity as a child of God, other awake beings let you do it as long as you want to. Because what? Because you've been presented with alternatives, but you're choosing not to do it. It'd be a different thing if we had not been presented all these teachings that we study. They're always giving us alternatives. We choose not to do them, but we expect everybody to feel sorry for us. The only people that feel sorry for you is somebody who doesn't know how powerful you are. The only person that feels sorry for you is somebody who doesn't know how powerful you are. Think about that for a minute.
That works for us too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. If a person doesn't know, that's one thing. But once you make a person aware and they still continue to do the same thing over and over again, then that just means that they want to give themselves that creation right now. There's something they want to learn through that creation. They have every right to do it. But what you have to watch is getting sucked into it in terms of empathizing by joining in suffering with them. Because true empathy has nothing to do with joining in suffering. And that's what the world thinks empathy is. You're suffering, I'll suffer with you because I'm your friend. No, if I'm your friend, I don't want to suffer with you because I want to represent the alternative that you're forgetting right now that you can have. I want to be the alternative. You're miserable. I'm going to try to stay centered and peaceful to let you know there is an alternative to feeling miserable. Me getting miserable with you, like for instance, you put your hand on the fire and burn it. If I put my hand on the fire and burn my hand, how is that relieved any of your suffering? None at all. It hasn't had any effect on your hand's hurting just as much. So don't think you're helping people by joining in suffering, because if you do, you're just creating suffering for both of you instead of one of you. The truth will sound cold sometimes. It does. It'll sound cold to people who don't understand how strong and powerful we are. So any questions about that first, that was a pretty long paragraph. Any comments about what I've said so far? I love to answer the questions that you may be using to confuse yourself to the point you don't come back.
I want to come back, but, yes, but. That works, like I'm saying, if I don't recognize my own power, too.
What works?
This whole idea. I'm not seeing, if I'm feeling sorry for me,
right,
I'm not recognizing how powerful I am.
That's right. That's right. And it's funny, you tell people to love themselves and they feel resistance. You know, but if you say, put yourself down, no resistance. Criticize yourself, no resistance. You say you're not good enough, no resistance. But if you say, appreciate yourself, love yourself, then they have resistance. Interesting.
So I guess the trick is to train my mind to join with my heart, not my heart to join with my mind.
It's about training your mind. It's just taking your mind and using your mind as a servant of your heart. Your heart should always win, according to this. Your heart should always win.
That's the hard part, because the heart is really quiet.
Well, he says the heart. He says the
Powerful,
heart.
you know.
He says the heart is the center of your being. It's not a physical organ.
Right. I understand.
Right. So start asking your body. I mean, this may sound weird to say this because your body is a communication device. It's the way that we're supposed to get guidance and follow guidance, hear guidance, communicate in this realm. So you could start doing simple things like, when I get ready to go visit this person, does my body contract or does my body relax? I'm looking at the menu and I'm trying to decide what to eat. What does my body feel like eating? Because you got a body consciousness, you got a body mind. It's called a body mind. I like that. We think we're body minds. We think we're bodies with a mind. And the truth is, your body is inside your mind. Your mind isn't inside your body. That's going to be a trip when you really get that one down. You know, because think about that. If my body's inside my mind, then all of a sudden I really understand why my body is so affected by my thoughts. If my body's inside my mind, I also see why I'm joined with each and every one of you instantly. Because that means you're inside of my mind too. So if you all inside of my mind, we've all got to be the same thing. Why does it look like we're not? Because number one, because we named. We all have different names. We have different looking bodies. So my point in saying this is, your body doesn't have any choice but to follow the dictates of your mind and heart, but your body is also the way you can know whether something's true for you or not. So it's your own personal lie detector. That's why we move so fast toward people that our bodies respond to. We almost can't help it. But what that means when you met somebody that your body responds to is that you've met the person whose pattern matches yours perfectly. And because your patterns match perfectly, you can get some kind of incredible lesson and growth out of that experience. And now you're feeling compelled to connect with them. Think of the average person as being a plug, like an electrical plug. And what they're trying to do is plug into everybody else's socket. And that's the mistake, when they're supposed to be plugging into their own socket. So people are walking around with their plugs hanging out. Trying to plug in somebody else's socket. And then they're wondering why they get short-circuited. Because nobody else's socket is going to do it for you.
Socket you.
Yeah, sock it to me. It's time to sock it to me. Please don't lose your sense of humor. Please don't get so serious about your spiritual development that you do the very thing that the truth said got us caught up in this in the first place. Is we're too friggin' serious. But even that is programming. See, that's what's such a trip. When you realize that even your personality is nothing but an accumulation of ideas and experiences and programming, the next thing you ask, well, where am I located? Right. Who am I really then? That's the ultimate question. Who you are is whatever it was that accepted all those descriptions. It had to be something that accepted the descriptions, right? It has to be something you that's accepting these labels about you a woman, you a man, you black, you white, you poor, you're not, you live in Denver. Okay, there's something in you that's accepting these labels and is using them. That's you. But all the labels and all the experiences, that's just your personality. That's made up. That's made up. God. Wow. So let's go to the next paragraph. It says the major. Somebody set their hand up. Anybody? Yeah. Okay. I don't know what was it. I know you had to have your hand up because you said things that everybody else don't dare say, but they be thinking. So I appreciate that about you, Chris. You're the spokesperson for the whole collective class.
Thank you. But so you were saying that, when we contract, then that the body's telling me, that's not right.
Let me qualify. That's not true for you.
Okay.
It's a subtle difference in that. Your body is getting you in touch with what you believe is true for you, because what you believe is true for you is what you're going to manifest and what you're going to see. See, in other words, I could wanna go out with someone, and I could watch my body reaction. And let's say my body, if there's something about them or something they said that my body is not feeling complete peace about. And that doesn't mean that that person isn't honest, beautiful, and wonderful. Just because my body doesn't react in a peaceful way does not mean the other person is something wrong with them and you're all psychic and you picked up something bad about them. No. All that means is there's something about them that's not right for you.
Okay, so then, you know, I've had this thought going around, actually in my heart. It's been saying, embrace my greatness.
True.
But when I do that, I tighten up with fear because, you know, I fear, but then that what you were saying then I tighten up with fear because I don't believe that, but that isn't necessarily true.
That's right.
Right.
Right, exactly. Just because you are afraid to embrace your greatness, or you may not think your greatness is real, has nothing to do with the truth of your greatness. But what it does have is an effect on your ability to perceive it. See, there's reality and then there's perception. There's the way things are and then the way we're seeing it, right? Okay, so you are great. You are great. Your body is letting you know you don't think you are. So you need to get your mind and heart in alignment with that idea by learning how to let go of all the blocks that keep you from recognizing your greatness. And that's what the Course of Love and the Course of Miracles say. That this is a course in undoing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. So we're really in an undoing process, which is faster than a doing process. We're actually on the fast track now because the fast track is undoing, not doing. We're no longer doing. We're undoing. Undoing what? All of the false ideas that we have given ourselves since the day we were born that keeps us limited. Who should be your friend? Someone who also wants to do the same thing. Even if they're doing it their own way, they still got the same goal. Because the more conscious you become, the more you want to be around like-minded people. The more unaware you are, the more you want to be around people who appear to be different from you, compliment you, fulfill you, take up the slack, handle the stuff that you're refusing to handle. So if I'm broke, I want the person with the money. If I'm introverted, I think I need an extrovert to get me out of my introversion. I'm always looking for the person who's going to compliment me. You know what I mean? It's like, it's okay to be around people who are different from you. But the more you wake up, you'll want to be around people who share a common purpose with you because, you know why? Because it's just easier. And it moves you faster. Because you don't have to constantly explain to the other person. Unless you're dealing with a very conscious person who realizes that they do things different from you. But at the same time, they're so awake to know that love is freedom, which means you have a right to do it your own special, particular way. And they really, really respect that. Two people who appear to be different only conflict with each other all the time unless they got a total respect for each other's right to express themselves. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. If you're going to be with somebody who seems like they have no friggin' qualities, nowhere like yours, you better be in a really unconditionally loving place where you feel like it's truly, no joking, it's truly okay for you for them to do everything separate from you, pretty much, and you do everything separate from them, pretty much, because you are embracing them. You are embracing them. You are allowing and accepting them. You know, it's funny. You'll spell your last name.
My what?
Your last name. Spell your last name.
D-I-A-Z.
Okay, D-I-A-Z.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny because I was thinking about the first three letters of your last name, or the first the initials for three of the four keys of the kingdom. It teaches in the way of mastery, which is some more very powerful material I'm studying right now. That, you know, desire, that the key to the kingdom of freedom and happiness is desire, intention, allowance, D-I-A, and surrender. So in your case would be zeal. You know, yours would be you follow your desires, you have intention, you allow, and you have zeal. That's the thing that I associate with you. You have a lot of zeal about the truth and what you're trying to learn about the truth. So if you have no desire and no passion about it, that you need to stop right there, right? And then you have to have what after desire? You have to have the intention. I got the desire, now I have to have intention. Okay? Then after intention, okay, I intended, then I need to allow it. If I intend it, I need to allow it. And if I'm going to allow it, what do I need to do? Surrender to it. I desire you, I allow you, I intend you, I surrender. I surrender. I desire, I intend, I allow, I surrender. That's putting your mind and heart together. That's getting your mind and heart together. That's joining your mind and heart. I desire it, I intend it, I allow it, and I surrender it. Is no conflict.
Well, I got a bunch of yes buts going on mine.
Okay, give me some.
Well, I'm thinking all the B's in my name, but.
What's one of yours?
But, opposite, but, intention.
Well, it's almost like you have to but. Because without the but, you would allow yourself to have the happiness that I'm talking about.
Oh, shit.
Not having the happiness that we say we want is nothing but the buts. That is the but. I hear what you're saying, but.
Yeah.
I could do this, but.
Yeah.
When someone says anything to you and they say but, you can just erase everything that they said right before the but and just start what they say after the but. You realize a nice person, but. Just forget everything they said before the but. Because what they say after the but is what they really think. I like this idea that my mind and my heart need to be joined, but.
Now I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do.
But,
that's after the but.
Yeah, that's what's going to really happen. Is what's after the but. What's after the but?
You're both so smart.
You know, there's a lesson in the Course in Miracles that says God is but love. It sounds pretty intense to me. God is but love. That's pretty intense. Therefore, so am I. God is but love. Therefore, so am I. So what's after but? Love. Therefore, so am I. Love. Therefore, so am I. God is but love. Therefore, so am I. Boy. So here's a very powerful thing you can do too to transform things really quick. We were talking about the other day of getting rid of I and me. I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to make this happen, I got to handle this, I got to go to work, I got to pick up, I got to make my job, I got to make the money, Every time you say that, you are setting up struggle for yourself because you're setting up the premise that it's you by yourself that's got to do it. And so since everything reflects your what? Consciousness, your reality reflects back to you non-support because you've already decided you have to do it on your own. The universe cooperates and says, okay. So you call it people not helping you, but it's really just a reflection of you saying, me. So what? So we, us, our, us, we. And if you really want to jump it up a level, you go, God has to go pick up the cleaners, pick up the laundry. God has to go wash the dishes. God has to go to work. God has to go get the oil changed. And then God is going to let God fix my car because God is also the mechanic that's fixing my car. And so all of a sudden, it's just God doing God. Now, if you see it as God doing God, you'll see a transformation in your experience beyond your wildest dreams. God is teaching God a course of love that was written by God. God is sitting in the chair listening to God talking and God playing music in the background with the camera that God made and the clothes that God made and the house that God made with the cars that are God, that God made.
Wow.
God is going to love God. I'm going to go home to my partner. That's God going home to God. God is getting ready to cuddle and snuggle with God tonight. God's going to the movie to see God on the movie screen sitting in the audience with God. Start doing it that way and watch what happens in your experience. It will freak you out. There's no more I. There's not, oh, God has an overdrawn bank account. See, it sounds hilarious just to say it, because you know when you say that, that would just have to be some kind of experience that God's having, because you know God wouldn't have to have nothing overdrawn or a bank account. Just try. There are so many ways to transform our experience. It's much more simpler than the things we do every day to make it. But in most cases, people would rather go do the hard physical labor than to do the mental shift that would be necessary to have their life work, even though it would be 10 times easier than the things they're doing in the physical world. You know what I mean? It's amazing to watch that. You can see people doing very physical, laborious jobs for hours a day. I'll never forget when I was working as a telephone installer repairman before I decided I was going to start teaching full time and do my own thing. It was a cold winter day, just like last night, and I had to climb up a pole with those little spikes on and chip my way up the pole and get into the terminal, and the wind was howling, and the person whose phone had been out of service for a week was standing down to the bottom of the pole trying to give me a hard time about how long it took for us to get him there, which, without realizing that as a telephone repairman, you're dispatched, which means you don't know they exist until 15 minutes before you show up. But I'm the whole phone company, so therefore she could project all of her anger on me, right? At my request. And I remember sitting up there because I had gotten into metaphysics and how, I always end everything at my request, so I won't go completely unconscious. Because if you don't end it with at your request, you're unconscious. You can run down your whole thing. They make me so thick in the head, treat me like a dog, and then the strong time gonna take the, but it's my request. It was me who requested, because you're empowering yourself. It's already happened. You just want to give yourself some power out of it. So anyway, I'm up there on the pole, and I had this epiphany. And it was like, I am risking my life. First of all, I could fall off this pole and kill myself for an ungrateful customer. I'm risking my life to do this instead of having the guts to put my life on the line to follow my own dream. And it just hit me. It's like, why in the world would I be risking my life for a company, but yet I won't follow my dream and the thing that I think I really want to do with my life? But I realized I would discipline myself enough to get up every morning when the alarm went off, to put on my clothes, to go work 50 and 60 hours a week. And I would do it every day, and I was a good employee, and I never missed. But I wouldn't put 20 hours into me. I wouldn't put 20 hours into the things I love. But I would be totally disciplined for somebody else. And that's when I realized that I had gone insane, and that I needed at that point to start practicing the truth that I was studying, which was, if I change my mind and God is real and I'm willing to fulfill my function, then I will be taken care of, and I will have joy and more peace. And everybody in here can do that. Everybody in here can do that. Everybody, but it's in direct proportion to how willing you are to say, there's nothing that's happening to me right now that's being caused by anything outside of myself, and that everything I'm experiencing right now is the result of my choice. That's what all of you having your personal freedom is hinging on. How much responsibility you're willing to take for your experience of your experience. And most people would rather go do a job they don't like, because it gives them the opportunity to blame others for what they're going through, and they're really just afraid. And they're not owning their creation and just saying, you know what, this is a lousy job, but wow, I created it. Look what I did. Wow, what would it take to create something better? I've got a job that I make no money. Right, now what would it take to allow something better? Don't beat yourself up about it. You got to embrace it. You got to go, this was an example of my creativity. Now let's do something new. Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody kind of looking at me weird. I'm just started trying to check in, you know, and your consistency and how you constantly come every week to work on this together, it is creating a force that's helping you and helping me and helping us beyond anything that we can imagine.
No, Earl, I wanted to ask you when you were saying to say that God has this.
It's God. Yeah, it's God asking Earl. It's God asking God this question.
So then, does that include God is cussing this guy out in traffic right now?
Exactly. As soon as you say that, you'll be enlightened. No, you would say God is cussing God out in traffic that God created. In the car God made and is. Everything is God.
Okay.
Everything is God.
Okay.
God is in prison doing life. And God is guarding God. It'll freak you out.
Okay, I can't believe I'm saying this, but
Yeah.
does that include saying God is watching God on the pornography channel?
Yes. God is on point to watching God do all kind of sexual things. It's only God having experiences. We are the ones who are judging them. And it's the judgment that we have that's killing us. Judgment denies energy to your cells. Judgment attacks your body. Judgment takes money out of your bank account. Judgment is the root cause of all pain and sorrow. It's judgment. It's just experience happening. It's just experience happening. And then we say it's moral and we say it's immoral. And then people say, well, if we don't have these definitions, people just go, wow. The truth is, if love is at the root of something, it couldn't possibly be harmful ultimately. You don't have to make a lot of rules for people who love each other. You don't have to make a lot of rules for people who don't. That's why we got so many laws, y'all. It's because we're not reflecting love at this level. So now you got to have a law that says you don't break into somebody's house. You got to have the law that says you don't mug somebody. You got to have a law that says you don't take somebody's credit card. Those are all things you would ever do as an awakened being anyway. And if you did, you wouldn't feel any guilt about it because you would know it would be serving some higher purpose beyond what you know anyway. There's somebody like when you become awake, you do like Byron Katie and go, oh, somebody just stole my jewelry. Boy, I hope they can really benefit from it and that it brings them some kind of joy and peace because evidently they needed it more than I did. How do I know they need the jewelry more than me? I don't have it. They do. And then she went on about her business. And I was reading and that's what enlightened beings do. She said she went to the doctor. They told her she was going to lose her sight in her eyes because she had some kind of disease in her eyes supposedly. And the first thing she said was, wow, that's exciting. I'll get a chance to see what it's like to move around the world without physical vision. That's the way an enlightened being taught because they know they can't lose no matter what's happening because love is the nature of the universe. It's only unconscious people like me that think life is about avoiding pain, who thinks life is just about how comfortable can I get. That's what asleep people about. The Course calls it the body's comfort being your guiding rule. Every decision you make is about, is this comfortable, is this not comfortable? What do people talk about the most? They come into a room, what do they talk about the most? In a lot of cases, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's just too loud, this is too soft. It's all about comfort. It's all about comfort. That's what the average person wants. They just want more comfort. And a conscious being knows that pleasure and pain are equal. They're exactly the same. They embrace everything. And then nothing can hurt them. Why do the people in the Middle East so scary to us? A suicide bomber is inconceivable to Americans. Think about it. How many American suicide bombers do you think? First of all, Americans are too much into their own comfort to bomb themselves. You ain't gonna catch the average American doing nothing that's gonna be uncomfortable for them. Let alone walk into a crowd of people and blow themselves up. No, that's why we scared. Because people who don't fear death are the scariest people in the world to people who are afraid of it. Because they know how you gonna stop somebody that's not afraid of death? Not only not afraid of death, they think they're gonna be rewarded. And what's funny in a weird sort of way is that's exactly where you are going in consciousness. Where one day you won't be afraid of death, and so you'll be free and you'll do whatever you want to do. That's deep, man. But it's true. When you're not afraid of death, nobody can hurt you.
Right, but there's a twist, there's that twist there.
Which is?
You want to take other people with you.
Here's the metaphysical explanation that sounds here's the metaphysical explanation that sounds insane because it's so true and so opposite. Which is that nobody can go with a suicide bomber who didn't want to go with the suicide bomber.
I gotcha.
Okay. Nobody dies without their consent.
Body ceases, but their spirit goes someplace else.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Right. I'm saying that death only happens because the soul is ready to make that transition. It has nothing to do with somebody else causing the death.
Okay.
Okay. The suicide bomber went with other souls who were ready to go to their next level of learning. At our level of consciousness, that's inconceivable, and it looks like he walked into a crowd full of innocent people and blew them up. Okay, but if that's true, then God is not love.
Okay.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah, that's deep. I see.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If love is behind this universe, and whatever created us would let perfectly innocent people blow up, then God is not love. So either God is not love, or there's something wrong with the way we're looking at it. And I'd rather go with there's something wrong with the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
That maybe I have the wrong perception of what death is. You know, every book I ever read about the involvement of the soul always says death is easier than birth. That squeezing through a little canal while somebody is like got waves of spasms going through them, and you've been for the last 9 months, or maybe less, you've been kicked back in this, this central air heated place, with food coming to you without you even having to think about it, floating around, cooled out, constant temperature, ain't worried about nothing. You being popped out of a body into a cold room and then when I was a kid, the first thing that happened when you popped out, they pop you on your butt. So the first thing that comes like, welcome to the world. And here's another thing to think about. I'm not advocating mass suicide, but I just want you to think about it. I want to hear this edited. See that black dude, he gonna break out the Kool-Aid. He gonna bring out the Kool-Aid next week. He gonna bring out the Kool-Aid, I can tell him. It's gonna be all like... But have you ever noticed, and just think about this, just think about it, that there's basically, at this level, there's only one way to come into the world, but there's an infinite number of ways to leave.
Yeah.
Like all of us came in probably through somebody's body, birth, maybe, right? So to be born, you could only do that one way. Now, if we wanted to check out through death, there's like 100 ways we could do it right here in this house. Right, I could take this microphone and jam it down your throat and you die. We could stick your head in the oven, you could die. I could hand you a fork and you could stick it in one of these sockets, you could die. You could touch one of these women the wrong way and you die. Unless you are the special one. With the special one, you pretty much got free reign as long as you behave. Now, you see what I'm saying? You can there's so many ways you can run into this wall with your head and die. You could tumble down those stairs and die. Who else can think of some fun ways you could die?
Like falling into the candlestick holders. Wow!
Oh, that's taking the cord. Because people are strangling each other.
And we could have a suicide bomber just walk right in.
Oh, we could order that, just like you do pizza. You see what I noticed that I said that there was like that's just in here. So this is like an infinite number of ways that you can leave, but you only could come here one way. That in itself ought to be telling you something, that maybe we're here by choice.
So why do some people choose difficult ways to go? I mean, some people, like my grandma died peacefully in her sleep, and other people choose.
Right, she's a show off.
Yeah.
That's right.
Grandmama, she always do it. Why don't you be like the rest of us, die a miserable death? But no, you know what I think the truth would say about that? Some people like really quiet National Geographic movies, and some people like, guns blazing. It's just a matter of preference. Some people are more dramatic. Like, for instance, and Lord knows that my sister making her transition is almost a year ago next month, which blows my mind. It's been a year. And it was in a house fire, okay, which was very intense, right? My sister was like that. It made sense to me that she would go out in a blaze of glory, because everything about her life was drama and dramatic for as long as I had known her. You see what I'm saying? You can kind of tell how a person is going to complete their sojourn by the way they live it. You know what I mean? And here's another thing. It's like we're these infinite beings, right, who are supposedly eternal and never die, who's having what appears to be a physical experience right now. That this book is trying to say you need to join your mind and your heart so it can be a cool experience, right? So we're in this situation right now. So look at it this way. Look at birth as being a leaf or a branch on the tree. I said branch because you could follow, a branch would like go right down to the ground. Okay. You call it the branch of birth. And then the ground of death and transition, which is a good way to look at death, is transition, okay? That's what happened when you were born. You went, birth. Death. So depending on how old you are and your beliefs about either your branch is this close, which my last birthday reminded me of. Or you just see a baby like my granddaughter, who was recently born. She's like, choo. And then in between the branch of birth and the ground of death, you're supposed to be experiencing yourself in incredible ways of exploration, creativity, and love, and truth, and presence. You don't die ultimately, but your physical experience of being a separate entity does. Earl doesn't live forever. His soul does, right? So here's Earl. And what happens is this. Instead of using this period as this incredibly exciting opportunity to explore who you are and be creative and a conduit for love, you talk about that girl's dress was too short at work. Did you see that? I need to lose 10 pounds. My father was not kind to me. I don't love myself. I'm going to hell. I hate this job. But let's go to the park. Oh, it's a miserable life. The movies. Oh, it's such a miserable life. Disney World. Miserable life. Oh, a new outfit. Miserable. I got a new partner. Miserable. Oh, my car needs a tune-up. So think about how we are preoccupying our minds as we are falling from birth to the transition called death. And all of a sudden, a lot of the stuff you spend your time thinking about will seem so stupid to you and will seem so meaningless to you. And you'll be saying, you know what? I need to be using this time as a physical entity for much more exciting, powerful reasons than sin and guilt and what I'm upset about and trying to control everybody else and trying to make sure everybody else fulfill my wishes and my fantasies or putting myself down or feeling guilty. I need to join my mind and my heart on the complete exploration of consciousness and love and experience and connection and union that I was born to fulfill. I'm here so that God can express itself through me, and your life is your ashram. You are already on the path that is the quickest way for you to wake up to your true spiritual power. It's the life you're living now. The minute you said you wanted to wake up to your power, then everything that happened to you from that moment forward is all part of the plan. So everybody in your life tonight is part of the plan. Everybody's in your life right now is part of the plan. Everything you're doing right now is part of the plan. The people that are not there, they're not part of the plan. The people that are here are part of the plan. Are there people wanting to love you that you're not letting the love into you because you're busy thinking about the person that's gone, that's no longer giving it to you, who you absolutely don't need to receive it from? Why? Because they're not here. They're the worst person to receive it from. What's the worst person to receive love from? The one that doesn't give it to you is not here. That should be like common sense 101. But it isn't. That's not how we operate. That's not how we operate, because if I'm trying to torture myself, what could be the better way to torture my unworthy self than to constantly pine away for a love that's not coming to me through someone else that's not there to give it to me right now, and then overlook all the beings in my life that's in my life right now that's going, I want to love you, 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 I appreciate you, I appreciate you, I'm glad to know you, I'm glad to be around you. That is nothing but beating yourself up. That's just punishment. Stop it, Raj. Mm-hmm.
You know, I have some death issues. I'm scared to death.
You scared to death of death?
Of your death?
So I rented.
Your death?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, really, all deaths.
Everybody's death.
Everybody's dead.
That's pretty big.
But I rented my basement. I love how it says it's an individualized course. And this young kid is 22 years old, stationed in Afghanistan for 3 years, and carries a knife this big around with him. Brings it up, puts it on the couch, puts it on the counter. I'm going, what the hell is this? Well, he's going to kill me. That's what it is. I mean, I just had to laugh when I saw that knife. And I kind of went, you know, big deal. But I'm wondering if it's part of my lesson about death, you know, because I've had such fear around it. So I tracked this little burger from Afghanistan with his big old fat
So
knife.
you can quit having a hidden fear and just have the knife right there on that couch.
God, the couch and the counter and the whatever. But I don't even know what the point of that was, but it had something to do with death.
A big long knife might have a little bit to do with that.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking this long.
Yeah, and it's really great. That's a good example of how the course teaches everything is neutral. Like the knife really isn't good or bad. The knife really is neutral. The only thing that, but you don't have any neutral thoughts about it. So the knife is either making you feel peace or it's making you feel conflict, right? And so knives are used to do surgery that heals people, and knives are also used to murder people. So we got to understand it's everything in the world is neutral. Every event in the world is neutral. Everything in the world is neutral. Everything in the world is neutral. Everything in the world is neutral. We just don't have any neutral thoughts about any of it. And every thought that you have is either increasing your peace or increasing your conflict, increasing your love or increasing your fear. And we're at that point in our spiritual development where that needs to be said over and 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 over. So, what are you going to do while you in your free fall call your life after tonight? Are you going to be using it for criticism and judgment and the past and being upset with people all the time and trying to control and manipulate others? Or are you going to start using it now to see if you can fulfill your function for being born in the first place so you can have total bliss? Because the universe doesn't have any choice but to rearrange itself according to your predominating thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs, because the outer is a reflection of the inner. So it doesn't, if you really change your mind, the universe doesn't have any choice but to give you a different reflection back, because it always says yes. The universe always says yes. I'm a powerful being, yes. I'm a weak, miserable being, yes. I can never have anybody, yes. I can have somebody anytime I want to. Yes. I'm going to be broke. Yes. I'm going to be rich. Yes. The universe always says yes. So what are you saying? What are you saying that the universe is saying yes to? And remember, your perception lies. Your physical perception lies because it won't necessarily show you the truth. It'll just show you what you believe. So you can't use your physical perception to prove something. You can't say, I can't be a successful actor because I tried that when I was a teenager and it didn't work out for me. It's like, no, it didn't work out for you because you didn't want it to work out for you, and you were on a level of consciousness where you didn't even know you could really hold a thought without an opposing thought and have it happen. So you can't judge anything by your past because you weren't even on this level of consciousness in your past. So you can't say, this can't work for me because I've tried it before. That's the past.
That's good. I have to say that tonight's class, you know, I rank them.
Oh, okay.
You're about to be
And
judged.
tonight jumped right up to the top 3.
All right.
Let me tell you.
All right.
That was wonderful, and I know it wasn't you doing it, so don't even go there.
It was God.
That's right.
It was God saying that to God about the class. It was God complimenting God. Thank you, God.
You're welcome.
Thank you, God. Thank you,
You're
God.
welcome.
Thank you, God. Thank the other gods in the room. It's just God, thank you, God. Some of y'all might get a little bit even spooked out with that whole idea of even claiming that you could be God, expressing God as you. Think about that.
Yeah, that's deep.
That's really deep. It's like God wanted to have the experience of being you. So, we're going to do the love offering. There's been a slight change in policy. And so, when you make out, is anybody here that's sick and tired of being sick and tired?
I am.
Yes.
I am.
Are you willing to start using your body as a communication device and start to ask your body before you do things, or if you observe your body and how it responds, pay attention to it. It's really getting you in touch with your beliefs.
Yeah.
Like you, in ways you wouldn't even imagine.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Before we run out, I'd like to ask you one more time, take a breath. And I'd like to do something a little bit different tonight. With your eyes closed, I'd like somebody and anybody to say one of the things I heard tonight that I really want to remember is, because when you bring it back up is when you get it. Who can say out loud one idea that they heard tonight that they really want to contemplate, they really want to internalize in any way possible?
What am I saying? Oh, go ahead.
I'm God and you're God, everybody's God.
Thank you.
What am I saying yes that I'm saying yes to?
Thank you.
I want to
totally responsible.
I'm totally responsible. Thank you.
I was going to say that.
You can say it.
I'm totally responsible for everything that happens
Thank
to
you.
me.
All my conflict is between my heart and my mind.
Thank you.
Chris's last name spelled with an S. Desire, intention, allowance,
Surrender.
and surrender.
Breathe. Anybody else? And it may be something you feel resistance about.
That everything that happens to me is because I made it.
Thank you.
The universe said yes.
The universe says yes to my request. So what you think then that what we need to do is answer this one question, which is, what do I truly want? What do I truly want? What do, if the universe says yes, always, what do I truly want? I've got to start asking for what I truly want. Nothing that you experience is caused by anything outside of you. You experience on the effects of your own choice. And I choose bliss. I choose bliss. I choose love. I choose God. I choose us. I choose we. so be it. Thanks for coming, y'all.
So did
Hugs are available. You are blessings. You're ridiculous blessings.
I love how you say ridiculous.
I do.
I do too.
What you mean?